Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to do a very special whiskey, Dustin. Caol Ila, 30-year-old, vintage 1983, the 2014 special release. Cask strength, again, Diageo special release, 2014. This one comes in at a whopping 55.1% ABV. Very few bottles of this were made. I can't remember the exact number of them. I think around 3,000 bottles, roughly.
Sounds right.
Maybe a few more, but not very many more than that. I wasn't able to get this one in the United States. This is the UK version, but I was able to pick up another 30-year-old. It's a 750 ml from Benny's when we were in Chicago for me and for one of our friends in Nashville. So, Stephen, if you're watching, you know all about this bad boy, and we're going to tell everybody else what we think about it. So, Dustin, when I got this whiskey, I was so impressed with it. I brought two of them and some of the 35. So I was able to share this with you once, and we were quite impressed with it. But now the bottle's been open for a while. We're going to go back to it, and we're going to tell everybody what we think.
Absolutely.
So natural cask strength. Caol Ila is an Islay distillery. I don't often bring you guys, or the group, Caol Ilas very often. I don't know how many I've done. I think the 18 and the 12, and that's probably about it. So not one I bring very often, but this one's a very special bottling. Drank it down to about here right now. Had it open for many months, and we were impressed with it from the very first start, and I don't think today's gonna be any different.
Yeah, well, you know, the core with Caol Ila is always watered down, and then they do these limited releases, and then most of those are unpeated.
They're just excellent. You know, I've done some independent Caol Ilas. I did, Gordon MacPhail had a 11-year-old, I want to say, that I was really impressed with. About 3 or 4 of those bottles, excellent whiskey for about $100. This one was a little bit more expensive than that. This one was a little north of the $500 range, but excellent whiskey. Unchill filtered, natural color, lovely gold, and this comes from American casks and European casks. That doesn't really tell us anything. All we know is a refill cask from America and from Europe.
Yep, I will say on the nose, Mike, I believe there was sherry involved in one of those casks, because I am getting a way more sherry than I remember the first time. The first time I was actually thinking this might have been, you know, refilled bourbon, maybe just some really nice aromatic fruitiness from the Caol Ila, but no, there is some sherry here.
I tell you what, I mean, not that I agree there's sherry here, but man, this thing is just a lemon bomb. I'm getting so much lemon cake on this, wow.
It's interesting, at first I got a bit of a red fruit that I get in some of the independent bottlings that are all sherry, but then you're right, it goes into that lemon and you get that briny Islay character comes right in there, and you know, Caol Ila is always a very soft, refined,
well balanced.
Yeah, but also sometimes people kind of complain that they're not as craft as some of the other Islay distilleries. Everything's machine driven. They don't make mistakes. Now, mind you, in 1982, did they make mistakes?
83.
83, sorry.
83 bottles.
Probably more than today.
Yeah, maybe the cask leaves a little more or whatever, but still a very well put together whiskey. Just balance. You get, I mean, that again, that lemon note is what comes out first, like this lemon meringue pie note. It's candied, it's biscuity, and almost like the hard crust of a pie is there too as well, with the whipped cream on top. Man, just a beautiful sweet smell.
As we dig in though, I'm starting to get a little bit of iodine, a little bit of like a dentist office type rubber, plastic kind of a thing, where you start thinking, oh yeah, this is Islay. It's not intense, it's not Lafroig, it's not Ardbeg, but it's there.
The peat's there, but the best way I can describe it, it's a very fresh peat. It's almost like unburnt peat, which I know isn't the case. Yeah. But yeah, it's not a dirty campfire peat. It's a very fresh, light, almost lemon cake peat to it.
I go back to that doctor's office thing here. It's sterilized, it's been cleaned, but that's kind of what it's doing.
You know, and then there's nice fruity notes, you know, in here too, besides the lemon I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's like mango. It's almost like, you ever had, again, I go back to this lemon meringue pie, but there's also like key lime pie. I'm almost getting on the nose a back and forth of both key lime and lemon meringue pie.
Are we getting marzipan here?
Probably. Yeah, but again, the smoke is so clean, it kind of just dances back and forth. And kind of depending on where you put your nose in the Glencairn, you're picking up different notes. Yeah. Like some are a little more heavy and oily towards the bottom.
It's complex.
The lighter and fruitier notes are kind of at the top.
It's complex, it's rich, but nothing in here is jumping out and saying this is ancient whiskey either.
No, again, with the whole fresh peat thing, it smells so vibrant. Because a lot of people say, you know, they like young peat, and I guess I get that to some degree. There's been some peated whiskeys that I've had that were young, that were excellent peated whiskeys. I've had older peated whiskeys that I wasn't a fan of, but I tell you what, it's shocking how a 30-year-old peated whiskey can have this much flavor and peat smoke in it at over 3 decades old. Because let's say it like it is. If they're claiming 30 years, there might be older than 30-year-old whiskey in here. Who knows? The youngest whiskeys are 30 years old. And you know what you were doing in 83, Dustin?
I wasn't alive.
Wasn't alive, exactly. This is whiskey that's older than you.
Yep.
How often can you say that?
It's becoming harder.
Yeah, very hard. So you took your first drink, man. What are you picking up on the palate?
All right. So something I left off the nose was the fact that there's no alcohol. Mm-hmm. As soon as you drink this, you get a wallop of this beautiful, intense sweetness from the casks. Then there's big old alcohol kick that brings with it the peat, the brine, all that just lovely Ila character. I mean, it hit me like, whoa, this is beautiful. And I know when the first time I had this, Mike, I kind of came away saying, it's perfect in balance. There's no flaws, no mistakes, but there's nothing jumping out at me. It's jumping out a lot more today. It's coming at you hard.
Yeah, that lemon ring pie, man, is so obvious on the palate. I mean, it's just dessert cake. Lemon loaf, almost. You ever have like that lemon cake, those little lemon cake squares in the morning? It's that. But you're right, it's so much more aggressive on the palate. You feel that 55.1% ABV. Like it jumps out of the cask at you. And again, 3 decades old, over 55% ABV. I mean, just a stunner of a whiskey, and it's so well put together. It's almost mechanical. It's almost like artificial intelligence did it. I mean, I don't know if I would say this is better than my old Talisker 25s, the cask strength versions, or something like that, because they're going one direction a little bit more, and I tend to gravitate towards that more than I do. But there is nothing wrong with this whiskey. This is almost a perfect older peated whiskey, Dustin.
Yeah, it is. It is that. It's clearly it's perfection in terms of there's no flaws. Now I will say this: you go to a Talisker 25 cask strength, you go to some of the Lagavulin to like the 24 year. There's more transitions and changes while you're drinking it. Sure. This is just intense, beautiful peat, and then a nice, clean, relaxing, beautifully complex finish. But there's not like a beginning, middle, second middle.
Yeah, you can find lemon anytime.
Yep.
You can find it on the nose. You can find it on the palate. You can find it on the aftertaste. You can find that same fresh peat is the best way I can describe it. Almost like lemon loaf peat. You can get that on the nose. You can get that on the palate. You can get that on the finish. I know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's coming. But again, the way it's all put together, the fact that there are fresh fruits besides the lemon, the candied notes, the lemon meringue and lemon meringue pie, along with maybe like the key lime pie.
Yep.
There's something like a light whipped cream to it almost. It is very dessert while still being a sherried, but we're still being a peated whiskey that's going to have that smoke and that peat punch that will just kind of warm you up in the colder months of the year.
Oh yeah, I mean this is, gosh, if it was 30 degrees outside, you had a fire going, and you just poured a glass of this, you could just sit there
whiskey. Keep you warm. It has a nice, warm, inviting feeling initially on the palate, but also one, as you know, I got the first one around in the summertime. It was great in the summertime.
Oh yeah, well, it almost reminds me a little bit. Imagine if you were to take your laundry and sun dry it right by the ocean.
Oh yeah.
Like there's just something clean, a little salty, just
And then you had a couple lemons and you just squirted it all over the clothes right at the end, right before you gave it back to somebody.
It's lemon scented wash or something.
Yeah, it's almost transitioned to. When you say there aren't a lot of transitions, you're right. Not as much as some other incredibly fine and rare whiskeys there may not be, but for a standard whiskey, this has a lot of transition to it, in my opinion. But it's almost transitioning smell-wise. That lemon's kind of going to a light lilac almost. There's some flowery I'm trying to get. And flowery is not something, I get them on Spring Make 25s. I get them on really well-crafted whiskey.
No, I mean, the fruit notes here, I can't think of a young whiskey that does the fruity along with the intensity and then has a beautiful finish. Like, to get a great finish, to have beautiful fruit notes, you're looking at 20-plus-year-old whiskeys. I think almost always you're looking at $300+ whiskeys, almost always.
Oh, if you're lucky.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking the independent bottle. You took a gamble and you got lucky.
Yeah, no, yeah. If you're gonna do standard distillery release bottles, you're not picking up something like this for under $500. No way. I mean, it's just that good of whiskey. And shockingly, here in 2020, there was a huge run on this. A couple of friends that I had up in Canada recommended this highly to me. As a matter of fact, they knew of my love of Talisker 25, and one gentleman's out in British Columbia, and one gentleman's in Montreal. So Casey and Sean, thank you, man. I appreciate you guys recommending this whiskey so highly. And they said, Mike, you got to get this whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, I turned one of them onto the Talisker 25, and he said, man, I appreciate you turning down the Talisker 25. I bought a bunch of the old cask strength versions, and he goes, I'm going to do you a solid back. Caol Ila 30, 2014. I said, I haven't been blown away by Caol Ila's, man. That's an expensive bottle. And he said, trust me. He said it just like Harrison Ford said it.
Yeah.
Trust me. And Raiders of the Lost Ark? And I just trusted him. I just trusted him. And I'm so glad I did, because this whiskey is excellent whiskey. I'm so happy I was able to pick up a couple of bottles. Yeah. I really never want to be without it.
Unfortunately, they only made it once.
Only made it once. Again, there's only a few thousand bottles made. This particular bottle is bottle 1518. And I love obscure whiskeys.
God.
Yeah, vintage 1983.
This is just incredible, Mike.
Oh, what else you getting there? So we had a little bit of water. Let's see what else we're picking up.
I mean, it's just adding more and more complexity. There's just more nuance. I mean, it's not that I'm getting new flavors. It's just they're more distinct now a little bit. They're just coming out. God, and there's just so many.
Yeah, mint. That lemon is transitioning to mint. The lemon's still there, but it's like, hey, I brought my brother with me. Mint. Yeah. It's almost like that Lagavulin mint's there.
The mint's totally here. I mean, it's good.
A little bit of North Star Cafe ricotta cheese pancake with their exceptional maple syrup on it. I'm getting just a little bit of that ricotta cheese pancake on here too.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like an oak-aged maple syrup. Yeah, definitely some of that. I mean, there's just...
Yeah, the oaks here.
The complexity of the sweetness here, it's like 10 or 15 different versions of sugars and caramels and syrups.
It's just a candy shop.
And it's hard to figure out like which one's which there, but it's so many different ones. It's like, oh, that's like that one. Oh, but I get a little there.
It's like one of the best Christmas days you ever had, assuming you had good Christmases. I don't want to speak for everybody, but just sitting there with your family, all the food's good. This is like the best version of it you ever had, and you don't know if it's just that good or you're just having that good of a time, and it's the atmosphere. Yeah. Now today we know that because it's kind of a gloomy day, and we know it's not the atmosphere. We know this is a 100% whiskey-driven experience.
You know what, Mike? I have never wanted to have bacon more when drinking a whiskey than this moment right now.
To kind of offset it with something kind of salty and peppery meaty.
Because as soon as you started talking about maple syrup and pancakes, I'm like, oh man, a side of bacon with this. Oh.
Maybe we'll have some Lagavulin 24 later. That'll be some
little bacon whiskey.
Little bacon with our whiskey. But yeah, just excellent whiskey. We could sit here and talk all day about the different flavors that we're pulling out of this one,
man.
And would love to do so. Excellent whiskey. Every time I've gone to this, I've been incredibly impressed. It is just a well-crafted, almost perfect. I'm not saying it's the best peated whiskey, but hear me out here. Almost the perfect peated whiskey. If you like peated whiskey and you like big peat, and you like fresh peat, and you like all the little nuances that come with it, but still like some fruitiness elements to it and things like that. I mean, as far as balance and layers, this is as good as it gets.
I just picked up a little bit of sourness on the finish, which just another element there. It just beautifully adds to the complexity. It's a little bit of like fruit sourness. It just, God, and it's
you're right. Now you're getting green apple.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's green apple. Yeah, it's what are they? Simple Truth, no. Golden Delicious. It's Golden Delicious green apple.
I mean, it's
green
just
apple skin.
Beautifully adding just another layer to what is already an incredible whiskey.
Beauty. All right, so Dustin, we've rambled on about this one for quite some time. Not that I didn't want to, because it's a beautiful, beautiful bottle.
We're just going to keep pouring these.
Yeah, we got the 35, so I'll bring that to you guys here pretty soon as well, and then we'll do a comparison between the two. I know it's a little hard to pick up the actual Caol Ila 30 on here, so if you guys couldn't see it beforehand, there it is, and then that big 55.1% ABV, little skiff kind of going around the bottle. So it's not a bullet cut through the air, as I initially thought. It's a little skiff that used to ferry the whiskey from Islay over to the mainland. So nice little harkening back to their roots as far as what it took to get their whiskey to the world. And now we have it all the way here in America.
Yep.
God bless America. 2020. We were able to get these great bottles just on a whim. All right, so Dustin, where are you at as far as the whiskey score on this one?
I feel like I'm going low here, Mike, but I'm going to go 92.
I'm a 93 out of 100. I've thought this was a 93 from the beginning. Again, it's almost a perfect peated whiskey. Just excellent stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a $500, $600 whiskey all day.
All day.
You're not going to be disappointed with that. It probably won't be that for long. This will probably be a whiskey that's a collector's item that'll be hard to get, I'm sure, at some point.
Unfortunately, yeah. People are hoarding these and not drinking them.
Yeah, just a beautiful whiskey. And again, I can't thank my two buddies from Canada, both Sean and Casey. Thank you guys so much for recommending this whiskey. I believe in you guys enough to buy two. And if I could have bought three, I would have done that as well. 93 out of 100,
yep.
92. Like to know what you guys think about this whiskey if you're lucky enough to get your hands on it. But regardless, until next time, we wish you folks
exceptionally happy drinking.
Happy drinking. See you next time.